Hey there, my name is JR, and this is my Onefinity CNC. This is the woodworker model, and I felt like I owed some information because I used so much of YouTube and researching on the internet when I was making my decision about which CNC I would add to my wood shop. I felt like I would give you a 4 or 5 month review, let you know how I felt about it, where my expectations were coming into this as a person new to CNC versus what I've ended up using it for, and how it's helped me, and if that has measured up to my expectations. So thanks very much. We'll do a quick overview here in just a moment, and appreciate you watching. Thanks. All right, so first what I'll tell you is I'm not new to woodworking, I'm just new to CNC. And this wasn't meant to replace any tools that I have, but really for me it was a way to create easily repeatable templates, inlays into furniture that I might make, and otherwise augment my woodworking, but not to replace any piece of equipment that I already have. So when I was doing my research, what I found was that there were a lot of companies out there that used drive belts and V wheels. And when I did some research and asked people about their experiences, and I even went and found a few people locally who had those V wheels and belts were a real big source of aggravation for them. And digging into, why that is, because I've never had one of these CNC machines before. The belts stretch and require maintenance, tightening them up and so forth. And I guess the way that you tighten them up or how tight you make them, that can be a little subjective. But then also there's the carriages ride on V wheels, which are, they look like miniature skateboard wheels, and they ride in a channel. And from what I've been able to gather, those things gather dust, can obstruct the wheels. Anytime the machine moves and there's some kind of an obstruction there, it could cause your workpiece not to come out the way that you wanted it. So I knew that I wanted to avoid drive belts and V wheels if possible. And, I was more concerned about the reliability and the repeatability of the machine than I was at trying to come in at the most budget machine I could find. So that being said, once you kind of mark off V wheels and belts off of your shopping list, you really kind of move up in price. And that is going to include people like Shark and Avid CNC and others, who those are great machines, but they use, industrial level, parts. So linear bearings and linear shafts and screw drives instead of belts and wheels. So the barrier to entry with those machines from those other manufacturers at the time I was looking, and this is probably a little over a year ago I started this process, you couldn't touch one of those machines and equip it with either a spindle or router for really less than $6,000 or so to be all in, everything working. So during that research process, a company called Onefinity launched a new product, and this is it behind me. And I'm going to bring you in closer and show you some of what caused me to pick this machine, because their really core component are very, very different than other machines that are out there on the market. And again, I'm not trying to speak poorly about any other manufacturer, but I'm just saying that those features, those things about those machines, specifically the belts and the V wheels, I just wasn't going to have those on my piece of equipment. So, that being said, rigidity of the frame was another big thing to consider. So again, if you have the machine is plowing through a cut, and there's lateral resistance wherever that bit's trying to go. If the machine is not rigid, you're going to have problems. You'll have deviations in your cut if there's not a very solid Z carriage. So that's the part that goes up and down. As it encounters different types of areas of wood, knots or soft squishy parts or whatever, it can cause that Z to move up and down if the machine is not very rigid. So that was certainly important to me. I also didn't care for that some of the other machines were dependent on being connected to a PC. So that was the drive mechanism or the brains of some other competitive machines. And, I just didn't feel like that was a fantastic way to do it. And I also didn't want the machine to be dependent on the internet connectivity in order to work. So, because things happen, could be on my side, could be the server side of whoever that provider was. If you have a system glitch and it ruins, a part that you've been working, you could have hours and hours into just getting a part onto your CNC machine. So to have an internet glitch cause that to go bad, I just wasn't going to do that. So, what I've got here is the Onefinity woodworker. So that's got a cutting area of 32 1/4 by 32 1/4. And I'm going to try to just zoom in here, see if we can, and I apologize if this camera work isn't up to your normal. All right. So right now I have my dust collection connected to it, and this is a 4-inch dust collection coming to it, and this is their dust boot that comes with the machine. So I just have a simple adapter there to get me from their shop vac size up to my dust collector size. So the parts that I was mentioning earlier that I felt were super important, I'm just going to use this wrench as a way to, that's probably not great, maybe this red thing. So this is the Z carriage, and one of the things that you can see, if I zoom in a little bit, all right, I'm going to just move the camera momentarily, hang on. One of the things that was important to me is that instead of having V wheels that ride in a track up and down, these shafts here, these are 12 millimeter shafts and 12 millimeter linear bearings, so that as the machine goes up and down, it's riding on very, very robust shafts. Then over here, you have these cross shafts on the gantry here, and again, linear bearings on these shafts. I think are 37 millimeters. I don't know the thickness of them, but boy, I can tell you what, this is a well-built piece of equipment. There's just no flex in this machine whatsoever. So again, when the machine moves, this ball screw is what's pulling the machine over, and it's riding on these bearings on that chrome and hardened set of shafts. And then the same thing over here for your y-axis. There are, again, these are 12 millimeter 16 millimeter ball screws, and again, chrome and hardened shafts, and these bearings here are what it rides on instead of, again, so this piece here replaces the belt, these parts here replace the wheels that you see in other machines. And I just have to tell you, the repeatability of this machine and all the things that it can do are just really phenomenal. So this is the screen that I believe is still the standard screen. So it's you'll be able to use this machine, either you can connect it to the internet and manipulate the machine through Wi-Fi, or you can use a touch screen. I found that this one was just a little bit too small for my sausage fingers. So the neat thing is you can see that there. So this, I don't know, I think it's like maybe a 19-inch or something touch screen, but this is the menu that you're going to see on the Onefinity. I just didn't care for the smaller size format. My fingers are just a little bit big, and I found that it was a little bit troublesome for me to touch the small buttons. So, but you can get a sense that everything here, you can you can move the machine from here, do everything that you need to, or one of the options that I got, and I feel like is a pretty valuable one, pardon my hand. So I believe they call this the joypad, and it really looks like an Xbox controller. I don't know if it's the same or not. I know some people have tried other ones. I just said, forget, I just don't want to have a compatibility issue, so I just bought the one from Onefinity. It has worked fabulous. Works every time that I need it to. Don't remember the cost, but you can look at it on their website. But the other thing that I really liked about this machine was that it's customizable. So while they don't directly support or provide you support if you change things, like if you go to a spindle. So I've got a spindle here, and I'm going to put that on as soon as I guess get around to it. But you know, they will sell you the parts that you need. So this is a breakout box that plugs into your controller that would allow you to connect a VFD and a spindle to your machine. And I just think that's great. They do have just recently announced an 80 millimeter spindle mount. So that's pretty good. And I guess where I would end, let me just move this here momentarily. Where I would end talking to you about this particular machine is, support is really important. You can look on online forums and see feedback from other users of other machines talking about the support that they get if there is a problem. I've been just knocked out with what I see. Now, I've never had a problem with my machine that I didn't create. In other words, as I got used to the machine, I've done all the stupid stuff you could do, started the program, forget to turn the router on, break a bit, stuff like that. But I've had no reliability problems with this machine and no reason to contact the support folks. But I have seen on the user forum where people have reported that at odd hours, so meaning after your normal hours or outside of your normal working hours, they've had a problem, reached out to Onefinity, and Onefinity has been apparently fantastic about responding in a very short period of time. So especially for new CNC owners, if you don't want to spend 2 or 3 days, I guess is what some people report when you buy these kits from these other manufacturers, they're very, very laborious to put together. This thing is going to come in 3 boxes. You're going to have both those rails, the X rails, the Y rails, and then you have this X rail. This thing went together, and I'm handy, so I'm not. It wasn't. It was not the IKEA challenge. I can tell you that. This thing was probably on the table and running in about an hour, and I went slow. I think you could do it faster than that, but I had never had one before, so I took my time. So in closing, what I'd tell you is it's a great machine. If you're thinking about buying a CNC that's compatible with this size, they do have a new size they just announced, but I'm not going to get into all that because I don't own one. But I can just tell you, after 4 or 5 months of owning this thing, it's a fantastic machine, and can't recommend it enough. Thanks very much for watching. Hope everything's good on your side of the world, and leave a comment below if there's any questions I can help answer about this machine or the experience along the way. Thanks a lot. And I forgot to mention it. I know, I see it in YouTube videos that people will mention it. This is not a sponsored video. All of this stuff I paid for. I'm just a regular guy. Onefinity probably doesn't even know who I am. And again, I just wanted to pay it forward. All the reviews and people that have spent time that helped me along my search for which machine would be right for me. But again, no affiliation, and I just felt like I should throw that in. Thanks. Take care.